Can you buy me and take me as your slave? The words shouldn't have mattered. Riker Vance had heard worse in worse places. Taxi's Prime wasn't a world for conscience, it was a world for survival. You came here for one thing, you paid, and you left. That was the plan. Get the hyperdrive modulator. Fix the ship, leave. Simple. The twin suns burned overhead as he stepped into the fortress market. Heat clinging to his skin like a second layer. Inside, the air was thicker, crowded with voices, species, and the stench of desperation. Riker found the shop easily. Kragath. The kind of merchant who smiled too wide and priced too high. Mark 7 modulator, Riker said flatly. Kragath's forearms twitched. Rare, expensive, 20,000 credits. Riker didn't flinch, but inside it stung. That was everything he had. Then he heard it. Soft, fragile. Please. Riker turned and saw her. Chained. A girl. Small, thin lavender skin bruised beneath a metal collar. Silver hair tangled around her face. Eyes wide, not with fear, with hope. Wrong. That was what hit him. Hope didn't belong here. What about her? Riker asked. Kragath barely looked. Useless, weak, but rare. 15,000. Riker's jaw tightened. 15,000. For a life. The girl met his eyes again. This time she spoke clearer, forcing the words. Take me, I'll be good, please. Something cracked. Riker didn't hesitate. I'll take her. Silence. Kragath's smile stretched. 18,000. Done. The credits were gone in seconds. Just like that, no ship part, no backup plan. No way off this planet. Riker stepped closer, pulling a compact blade from his belt. The girl flinched. I'm not hurting you, he said quietly. One clean strike. The chain snapped. She stared at him like she didn't understand what had just happened. What's your name? He asked. Lissa. I'm Riker. He met her eyes. And you're not a slave. She didn't answer. Didn't move. Didn't believe him. Behind them, Kragath chuckled. No credits left, human. No part, no ship. Riker didn't look back. I'll figure it out. But as he stepped back into the burning sunlight with a fragile girl leaning against him, he already knew the truth. He hadn't just spent his last credits. He just bought himself a problem that could get him killed. And somehow, it already felt worth it. And he had no idea someone had just put a bounty on his head. The package felt wrong. Riker knew it the moment he checked it. Too small, too heavy, too important. Military-grade encryption stamped across its surface like a warning. Shit. Beside him, Lissa clutched his arm, still weak but steady enough to walk. Is something bad? She asked softly. Yeah, Riker muttered, very. Then he saw them. Armored figures at the far end of the market. Scanning faces, showing projections. One of those projections was him. Time to move, Riker said. Fast. He pulled Lissa through the crowd, weaving between stalls until they slipped into a dim tavern, the kind of place where no one asked questions, because everyone had something to hide. They took a shadowed booth. Stay close, he told her. She nodded, but her eyes kept darting, alert, sensing something deeper. Then she froze. They're coming! Riker turned. Too late. The door slid open. Security. Not local. Hegemony. Great, he muttered. Before he could react. Mind if I join you? The voice was smooth, confident. Dangerous. She sat across from them without permission. And for a split second, Riker forgot how to breathe. Bronze skin, amber eyes, black hair falling like silk. A presence that didn't belong in a place like this. Or maybe ruled it. I didn't invite you, Riker said, recovering. No, she smiled. But you need me. His hand moved toward his blaster. Try me. She leaned closer. You're carrying something very valuable. Something the hegemony is hunting. Her eyes flicked to Lissa. And you freed an Alayan child in a slave market. Riker went still. Who are you? She held his gaze. Nara. A pause. Then, I can get you out alive. Riker studied her. Too confident. Too informed. Too perfect. What's the catch? He asked. Her smile deepened. You trust me. Outside. Boots hit the floor. Closer. Searching. Nara leaned in, her voice dropping. Decide fast, human. Riker glanced at Lissa. At the door. At the soldiers. Then back at her. Lead the way. Her eyes lit like she knew he would. And as they slipped out the back, Riker didn't realize one thing. He hadn't escaped the trap. He'd just stepped deeper into it, because Nara already knew exactly what was inside that package. The door sealed behind them. Silence, then light. Riker blinked as the hidden chamber came into view. Clean, advanced. Nothing like the chaos outside. Weapons, tech, comfort, control. Welcome, Nara said casually, to somewhere safe. Riker didn't lower his guard. Safe doesn't exist on this planet. No, she agreed. But I'm close. Lissa collapsed onto a bed, exhaustion finally claiming her. Riker adjusted the blanket over her gently. Too gently, Nara noticed. You care quickly, she said. Someone has to. That earned a look. Not mocking. Respect. Then she moved closer. Let's skip the games. The package. Riker pulled it out slowly. You first. A pause. Then, I'm Coalition. Riker frowned. That's a myth. Good, she said. Means we're doing our job. She stepped closer. That crystal contains proof the hegemony destroyed Lissa's world. Riker froze. What? They didn't lose it to disaster. Her voice hardened. They erased it. Behind them, Lissa stirred. I knew it. She whispered. Riker looked between them. And Kragath? Set you up, Nara said instantly. Courier bait. Deliver the crystal, collect a bounty when you get caught. Riker exhaled slowly. Perfect. He was broke, hunted, and carrying evidence of genocide. Nara watched him carefully. You can still walk away. Riker looked at Lissa, at the bruises around her neck, at the way she slept like she still expected pain. I know, he said quietly. I don't think I can. Something shifted in Nara's eyes. Not strategy. Something deeper. You're not what I expected, she said. Yeah? Riker smirked faintly. You're exactly what I expected. And what's that? Trouble. She stepped closer. Too close. Good trouble? Riker didn't answer. He closed the distance instead. The kiss hit like ignition. Fast. Unexpected. Real. When they broke apart, both breathing harder. The alarm screamed. Lights flashed red. Perimeter breach, Nara snapped. Riker grabbed his weapon. Lissa shot upright, eyes glowing faintly green. They're here, she whispered. And they're afraid. Blaster fire exploded through the wall. The fight had found them. And this time, running wouldn't be enough. Because the hegemony didn't just want the crystal anymore. They wanted the human who chose not to walk away. The wall exploded inward. Stone shattered. Heat flashed. Riker moved first. He grabbed Lissa and dropped behind a reinforced console as blaster fire tore through the room. Nara rolled the opposite direction, already firing back, precise, controlled, lethal. 3 at the breach, she called. Make it 2, Riker muttered. His shot dropped 1 instantly. The third didn't fall. Armored, hegemony elite. Of course, Riker growled. The soldier advanced through the smoke like a machine, weapon charging, then froze. Not physically, mentally. Lissa. Riker glanced down. Her eyes glowed faint green. They're scared, she whispered. I can feel it. Then use it, Riker said. She hesitated. They hurt people like you, he added quietly. That did it. Her eyes snapped shut. And the room changed. The soldier staggered. Weapon lowered, then dropped completely. A second later, he turned and ran. Full panic. Nara didn't waste it. 2 clean shots finished the others. Silence slammed back in. Only breathing. Fast. Heavy. What was that? Riker asked. Nara stared at Lissa like she was seeing something dangerous. Empathic projection, she said slowly. Rare, powerful. Lissa opened her eyes, trembling. I didn't mean to. You did exactly what you needed to, Riker said. Nara's gaze snapped to him. You don't understand. If the hegemony realizes what she is. Too late, Riker cut in. The alarms changed tone. Sharper, targeted. They already know. Nara swore under her breath. We move now. Riker helped Lissa up. She could barely stand. Can you run? I can try. That's enough. He lifted her without hesitation. Too light. Still too light. They pushed into the corridor. Chaos. Smoke. Shouting. Hegemony forces everywhere, but not organized. Not calm. Afraid. Lissa's fear had spread. And fear was contagious. Left, Nara snapped. They turned straight into a squad. Weapons raised. No time. Riker stepped forward. Drop them, he said flatly. They laughed. Then Lissa reached out. Not fear this time. Something else. Confusion. Doubt. The squad hesitated. Just for a second. That was enough. Riker and Nara moved together, perfect sync. Shots fired. Bodies dropped. The last one ran. Riker exhaled. Kid. Lissa looked up weakly. I didn't know I could do that. Nara's expression hardened. You shouldn't have to. Then, a slow clap echoed from the far end of the corridor. Cold. Measured. Interested. Well, a voice said, smooth as venom. This is unexpected. Riker turned, and immediately knew this wasn't a soldier. This was something worse. Because the hegemony had just sent someone who didn't feel fear. He stepped out of the shadows like he owned them. Tall, scaled skin like polished metal. Eyes that didn't just look at you. They judged you. Riker didn't need an introduction. Let me guess, he said. You're the problem. The alien smiled faintly. Admiral Draylock. Yeah, that tracked. Nara's voice dropped behind him. Don't engage. Too late. Draylock's gaze shifted to Lissa in Riker's arms. Interest sharpened. An Alayan, he murmured. Alive. Then to Riker. And a human. Protecting it. That word. It. Riker's grip tightened. She has a name. Draylock tilted his head. How fascinating. Blaster fire erupted. From Draylock. Fast. Too fast. Riker barely dodged, the shot burning past his shoulder. Nara returned fire. Draylock didn't even move. The blast deflected off a shimmering field around him. Of course, Riker muttered. Personal shield. Top tier. Your resistance is admirable, Draylock continued calmly. Predictable, but admirable. Behind him, more soldiers flooded in. Boxed in. Outgunned. Outmatched. Lissa stirred. He's different, she whispered. I can't feel him. Nara's eyes darkened. Command-level conditioning. Emotional suppression. Draylock stepped closer. You cannot frighten what has evolved beyond fear. Riker shifted Lissa slightly. Protective. Instinctive. Good, he said. Draylock paused. Then I don't have to hold back. And moved. Faster than before. Riker fired. Missed. Draylock struck. Riker barely blocked, the impact sending him crashing into the wall. Pain exploded through his ribs. He pushed up anyway, still between Draylock and Lissa. Still standing. Draylock studied him now. Differently. Why, he asked. Why what? Why risk everything? For something beneath you? Riker wiped blood from his lip. Because I don't see it that way. Draylock's eyes narrowed. Exactly. And in that moment, Riker understood. This wasn't about the crystal, or the mission. It was about him. About humans. You're afraid of us, Riker said. Draylock didn't react, but the soldiers behind him shifted. Just slightly. That word again, Draylock replied softly. Fear. Riker smirked. You keep saying you don't feel it. A beat. Which means you're lying. Silence. Heavy. Then, Draylock raised his hand. Kill them. Weapons came up. All of them. No escape. No cover. Nara moved closer. Riker tightened his hold on Lissa. And for the first time, this actually felt like the end. Until Lissa whispered one word. Wait. Everything stopped. Not the soldiers. Not Draylock. Time. Riker looked down. Lissa wasn't afraid anymore. Her eyes, bright, burning green. I understand now, she whispered. Nara froze. No, Lissa, don't. Too late. Lissa stepped forward. Small, fragile, and faced an army. They don't feel fear, she said softly. Then what are you doing? Riker asked. She looked back at him and smiled. They feel something else. Then she turned, closed her eyes, and pushed. Not fear, not panic. Something deeper, stronger, something human. Hope. It hit like a wave. Invisible, but undeniable. The soldiers faltered. Weapons lowered. Not fear this time. Doubt. Conflict. Choice. Treelock didn't move, but his guards did. One dropped his weapon. Then another. Then a third stepped back entirely. What is this? Treelock hissed. Lissa's voice trembled but held. They're choosing. Riker felt it too. That shift, that crack in control. Nara stared in disbelief. She's amplifying. Free will. Treelock's calm shattered. Enough. He raised his weapon, aimed directly at Lissa. Riker moved instantly. Too slow. The shot fired, and Nara jumped in front. The blast hit her. She dropped. Hard. Everything broke. No. Riker's world went red. He didn't think. Didn't plan. Didn't hesitate. He charged. Straight at Treelock. No fear. No doubt. Just pure human defiance. Treelock fired again. Riker didn't stop. Didn't slow. Didn't care. He hit Treelock like a freight train. Both of them crashing through the corridor wall. Into darkness. Into unknown. Behind him, Lissa screamed. Nara didn't move. And the soldiers didn't know whose side they were on anymore. Because for the first time, the hegemony wasn't in control. They hit the lower levels hard. Riker and Treelock crashed through steel plating, slamming into a maintenance shaft below. Sparks rained. Metal screamed. Then, stillness. For half a second, Riker moved first. He rolled, grabbed his blaster. Treelock was already up. No hesitation. No pain. Just efficiency. The Admiral struck. Riker blocked, but barely. The force drove him back into a pipe cluster, breath ripping out of his chest. You are persistent, Treelock said, advancing slowly. But persistence without hierarchy is chaos. Riker spat blood. Funny, he said, pushing up again. Looks like your system's breaking just fine. Above them, shouting. Confusion. Weapons not firing. Orders not followed. Lissa. Treelock heard it too. His eyes narrowed. That child, he murmured. Stay away from her, Riker snapped. Treelock ignored him. An anomaly. Riker lunged. This time, he didn't aim to win. He aimed to delay. Every hit he took, every second he stayed standing, was time for them. Treelock adapted quickly. Always did. He grabbed Riker mid-charge, lifted him, slammed him into the wall. Hard. Something cracked. Riker gasped, but didn't stop. Didn't quit. Didn't yield. Treelock paused, studying him again. Why do you continue, he asked. You're losing. Riker smiled through blood. Yeah, he said. Still fighting. That answer, that irrational defiance, finally got a reaction. A flicker. Tiny, but real. Treelock stepped closer, lowered his voice. You think this matters? He said. One child. One human. One act of defiance. Riker met his gaze. It already does. Above, a roar. Not fear. Not control. Something else. Voices rising. Together. Treelock's expression hardened. Then I will end it. He raised his weapon. Point blank. At Riker's head. No hesitation. No speech. Just execution. And for the first time, Riker had nothing left. No move. No trick. No way out. He just stood there. Breathing. Bleeding. Unbroken. Do it, he said. Treelock pulled the trigger. And the shot never came. The weapon didn't fire. Treelock looked down. Confused. For the first time, a hand gripped his wrist. Not Riker's. A soldier's. One of his own. Shaking. Trembling. But holding. I can't, the soldier whispered. Treelock turned slowly. Around them, more soldiers, more hesitation, more lowered weapons. What is this? Treelock demanded. No answer. Just silence. Then, from above, a voice echoed through the shaft. Small. Weak, but carrying everywhere. Stop. Lissa. Her voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't normal anymore either. It resonated. Inside. Through. Around. I don't want anyone else to die. Riker looked up. He couldn't see her, but he felt it. That same wave. Not fear. Not control. Something deeper. Something human. Choice. Drelock stepped forward. Furious now. You are disrupting order. Lissa's voice trembled. Then maybe your order is wrong. That landed harder than any weapon. Even Drelock paused. Just a fraction. But enough. Riker moved. He slammed into Drelock. This time not to fight, but to disarm. The weapon flew. Clattered across the floor. The soldier still holding Drelock's arm tightened his grip. Others stepped forward. Not attacking. Not defending. Just deciding. You will regret this, Drelock hissed. Riker stood in front of him. No, he said. You will. Above. The doors burst open. Nara, alive, barely, supported by two civilians. Her eyes locked on Riker. Relief. Pain. Something deeper. You're late, he said. She almost smiled. Had to change the plan. She looked around. At the soldiers. At the civilians. At the broken system. It worked, she whispered. Lissa stumbled forward behind her. Exhausted. Fading. But still standing. Riker moved instantly. Caught her before she fell. I've got you, he said softly. Her small hand gripped his shirt. Did we win? Riker hesitated. Looked around. At everything. Then back at her. We changed something, he said. Her eyes closed. Not unconscious. Just spent. Behind them. Drelock finally understood. This wasn't rebellion. This was something worse. Something he couldn't control. You've doomed yourselves, he said quietly. Nara stepped beside Riker. Or saved everyone else. Drelock smiled. Cold again. You still don't understand. Riker frowned. What? Drelock looked at Lissa. Then at Riker. Then, laughed softly. You think she's the weapon? Silence. Then, you are. The words hung in the air. Heavy, wrong. You're talking nonsense, Riker said. Drelock shook his head slowly. No, he said. I'm telling you the truth too late. Nara's expression shifted. What do you mean? Drelock stepped forward. Even now, even surrounded, still commanding the room. The Alayans were never the threat, he said. They were amplifiers. Riker felt something cold settle in his chest. And humans, he asked. Drelock's eyes locked onto his. Catalysts. Silence. Lissa stirred weakly in Riker's arms. No, she whispered. Drelock continued. You don't control others, he said. You change them. He gestured around. This is your doing. The soldiers, the civilians, the shift. The collapse of obedience, all because one human refused to walk away. Riker didn't speak, didn't move. Because he knew it was true. Nara looked at him differently now. Not fear, not doubt, recognition. That's why they're afraid, she said quietly. Drelock nodded once. Yes. Then smiled. And now the entire sector will be too. Riker stepped closer. Good. That answer. That calm acceptance. That refusal to back down. That was it. That was the thing the hegemony could never understand. Drelock exhaled slowly, almost tired. Then kill me, he said. Riker didn't raise his weapon. Didn't move. No. Drelock frowned. Why? Riker looked him dead in the eyes. Because you don't get to be a martyr. Nara stepped forward. We'll expose everything, she said. Every world. Every crime. Drelock's smile returned. You think truth wins wars? Riker shook his head. No, he said. People do. He looked around again. At the soldiers who lowered their weapons. At the civilians who stepped forward. At Lissa. Safe. Alive. Free. That's the part you never understood. Silence. Then, for the first time, Drelock said nothing. Because there was nothing left to say. Riker turned away. Let's go home. Nara stepped beside him. Lissa in his arms. Not a slave. Not a weapon. A kid. Their kid, maybe. The beginning of something. As they walked out. No one stopped them. No one dared. Because something had changed. Not just in that fortress. Not just in those people. But everywhere. A ripple. A shift. A problem. Human. And the hegemony had just realized it was already too late. The fortress didn't fall. It changed. That was worse. By the time Riker, Nara, and Lissa reached the docking levels, the entire structure was in controlled chaos. No centralized command, no blind obedience. Just people, thinking, choosing, fighting, but not for orders. For themselves. For the South Bay, Nara said, guiding them through a side corridor. Riker carried Lissa carefully. She hadn't woken up again. Too much strain. Too much power for someone that small. She'll be okay? He asked. Nara didn't answer immediately. She pushed beyond training limits, she said finally. But she didn't break. Riker nodded. She's tougher than she looks. Nara glanced at him. She learned that from you. They reached the docking bay. Plex was waiting. Of course he was. You did it, the spindly alien said, antenna twitching wildly. The whole fortress, no one's listening to orders anymore. Temporary, Nara said. Power vacuums don't stay empty. Plex grinned. Then we fill it. Riker raised an eyebrow. You? Why not? Plex shot back. You broke the system. Someone has to build something better. Riker almost smiled. Good luck with that. Nara gestured toward her ship. Time to leave. Riker paused. Looked back. At the fortress. At the chaos. At the beginning of something. Then, he stepped forward. No hesitation. They boarded. The ramp closed. Engines roared. And seconds later, they were gone. But the spark they left behind wasn't. 3 days later, the galaxy shifted. Not all at once. Not loudly. But undeniably. The data crystal spread, broadcast after broadcast. Proof. Evidence. Truth. Hegemony war crimes. Destroyed worlds. Engineered disasters. Slavery. Control. Lies. And something else spread with it. Stories. A human who bought a slave and set her free. A child who broke fear itself. A fortress that chose to stand. It moved from system to system. Species to species. Not rebellion. Not yet. Something deeper. Awareness. And awareness was dangerous. On the bridge of Nara's ship, Riker watched the report scroll across the screen. Uprisings. Refusals. Entire labor sectors walking out. Low-caste units disobeying commands. Even minor officers questioning orders. Nara stood beside him. The coalition is mobilizing, she said. This is bigger than we expected. Riker nodded slowly. Yeah, because it wasn't organized. It wasn't planned. It wasn't controlled. It was human. What happens now, he asked. Nara looked at him. Now, she said softly, we fight a war we didn't start. Riker exhaled. Figures. Behind them, a small voice. Did we win? They turned. Lissa stood in the doorway. Weak, but smiling. Riker crossed the room instantly. Knelt in front of her. Hey, kid. She hugged him. Tight. I thought. She started, then stopped. Riker held her a little closer. I'm still here. Nara joined them, gently placing a hand on Lissa's shoulder. You both are, she said. Lissa looked between them. Something softer now. Something safe. What happens to me? She asked. Riker glanced at Nara, then back at Lissa. That depends, he said. On what? He smiled slightly. On whether you want to stay with us. Lissa blinked. Then, without hesitation, she nodded. Yes. Nara's expression softened completely. Then that's settled. Riker stood, looked at both of them. His crew, his responsibility, his family, maybe. All right, he said. Let's figure this out. Outside, stars stretched into hyperspace. And across the galaxy, the wave kept spreading. Because once people learn they have a choice, they don't forget. Months later, the war had a name. Not rebellion, not resistance. Something else. The fracture. Because the hegemony didn't fall. It cracked. Everywhere. Systems breaking off. Alliances shifting. Species refusing their place. And at the center of it all, a story. A human. A choice. On a quiet colony world, far from the front lines, Riker stood outside a small structure overlooking a field of unfamiliar stars. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. Behind him, Lissa laughed. Actually laughed. Running across the field, chasing some small floating creature. Free. Completely free. Nara stepped beside him, arms crossing lightly. You built this, she said. Riker shook his head. No. He watched Lissa. You did. Nara smiled faintly. We did. A beat. Then, Scouts report hegemony fleets regrouping, she said. This isn't over. Riker nodded. Didn't think it was. She looked at him. Serious now. You could stay here, she said. With her? He didn't answer immediately. Didn't look away from Lissa. Then, no, he said. Didn't think so. He finally turned to her. You? Nara smirked slightly. I'm already involved. Good. Because this wasn't done. Not even close. Lissa ran back toward them. Stopped. Looked up at both of them. Are we leaving again? She asked. Riker crouched in front of her. Yeah, he said. But we're coming back. She thought about that. Then nodded. Okay. Simple. Trusting. Human. Riker stood. Looked at the horizon. At the stars. At the war waiting out there. Then spoke quietly. More to himself than anyone. They wanted order, he said. Nara glanced at him. And? Riker's eyes hardened. They should have left humans out of it. He turned, walking toward the ship. Nara beside him. Lissa between them. Not behind. Not following. With them. Equal. Together. And as the ship lifted, engines burning into the sky, the message that had already spread across the galaxy echoed again. Clear. Unstoppable. Humans don't accept their place. They change it.